Hello and welcome to Stripping the Dipping. You're joined by your usual co-host, AMG Dens. And just like Tupac, you can see me rolling in a 500 Benz. And it's Friday, I got my chain on, I got my jewelry all blinged out. Sarah's just joined into the conversation as well, which we love to see. And on the topic of jewelry, I'm hoping I don't anger or trigger any race directors this week. Cough, cough. But of course, with it being Friday, the day of celebrations, I'm absolutely enlightened to have two, not one, two. I got two for the price of one guests that represent the best community and the best cause on Twitter. So that will be Sarah and Ari from The 44. Guys, I'm absolutely buzzing to have you both here with us this evening. Or I should be careful for Ari kills me and says morning. How are you guys doing today?
Yes, good morning. I'm really excited to be on here. Thanks for inviting us.
Oh, anytime. And Sarah, how about you?
Hi, Dance. You're such a charmer, honestly. Thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime at all, Sarah. Honestly, anytime I see like your name pop up on a tweet, I just start smiling because I just know it's just gonna feed me with that positive energy that I need, because I exude it, but I also need it in return as well. And just the community that you
Really?
guys have created is sensational. So without further ado, then let's get the show on the road. So could you guys tell us just like individually how you both got into following F1 and then also how the 44 community was conceived? Sarah, I'll start with you.
Oh, um, well, I started following F1 because of Lewis.
Mhm.
Um, like I wasn't into Formula One at all. No one around me was following it. But I heard about a young prodigy was like giving a hard time to the reigning world champion Fernando Alonso, who happened to beat the legend Michael Schumacher. So I was like, who is he? And I was like afraid he was just a token. So I wasn't watching the races, but I was like monitoring the results. And then I remember it was like three races to spare, and I was like, "Wow, he's doing well. Maybe he can actually win this." So maybe I should start watching. So the first race I watched was Fuji 2007, and oh
What a
my God,
race.
what a
With the rain?
race!
Yeah, with the rain as well. Oh, the conditions were so treacherous on that one.
Like a lot of people love to like when they say, "Oh, Lewis is such a wet master," and they mention Silverstone, but for me, the perfect wet race will always be Fuji for obvious reason, of course. I know I'm biased, but I own it.
Well, we love facts here, Sarah, and that's an absolute fact as well. That race was just one of a kind. I remember as well watching that race too when I was a bit younger, and just the treacherous conditions, the tsunami-like
Absolutely.
conditions. This he was a master, and he's always been a bit of a rainmeister as well, like you've mentioned there as well. So yeah, and it's amazing that you've had such an organic kind of introduction to the sport through that way too. So okay, I'll move it to Ari then. Ari, how did you get into following F1, and could you give us some source on how the 44 came about?
Well, I hope I don't get any hate on how I came into liking F1. I actually came through the Netflix series Drive to Survive. I started watching just over a year ago. I came across the Netflix series and I was watching that. And I actually wanted to really dislike Lewis Hamilton from watching that series. It like the way they portrayed him as like this cold, kind of narcissistic, multi-winning world champion. It just made you want to dislike the guy. And then, I started following the races by myself. I got the app and then I got into F1 Twitter and then I realized, hang on, like there's so much more to Lewis Hamilton than what that series depicted of him. And I became, a very passionate fan. And yeah, that's pretty much how the 44 came about. I felt that there was a lot of slander towards Lewis, like from pundits and media outlets within the space. So I decided to actually, it was just from a tweet. I said, there's so many outlets that are slandering him. Maybe I should just make my own. And a lot of people replied saying, yeah, like, do it. And that's how it came about. And so the 44 has been something that we've launched since November last year.
Wow. And it's still going strong and it's just growing exponentially, Ari. Honestly, I've been so happy just, to be part of the journey from watching it just grow organically day by day, race week by week. And you touched on a few things there, which I'd like to just go over, So you mentioned you coming in from like the Drive to Survive thing. And again, like I think that there's a balance in that sense of it's not the people that watch Drive to Survive that's the problem. It's like you rightfully touched on the way that they portray some of the drivers. And of course, we like a bit of drama, we like a bit of spice, like a bit of seasoning there, let it marinate and that. But of course, when it's at the expense of a person's character, when they're going to extraordinary lengths to kind of put Lewis down or to downplay his achievements and how much he means to F1 and the followers of F1, then of course I think you were absolutely on the money. You hit the nail on the head when you said you wanted to create a community, and you and Sarah and all the contributors of the 44 have just done a marvelous job of like highlighting Lewis's achievements, just things that he does outside the sport, which we're going to touch on at some stage of this session, and just in general, just the vibe, because I think one thing that people from the outside will always say is, oh, well, Lewis supporters are cultists and the man is like the cult leader and such, but I don't see it that way at all. I see Lewis as like an enlightener of so many things that's wrong with the world and could be improved or different. And he's extraordinarily brave too, because, if it was a guy that was from a very privileged background, talking and dealing with some of the things Lewis addresses with, I think people would just be conditioned more to accept it. But when Lewis challenges stuff, people actually have to listen and take him in twice, because he's that nice. That rhymes. But yeah, there's just so many things to unpack about Lewis. And actually, I think it's a great segue into my next question for both of you guys. When we talk about Sir, it's actually Sir. It's when it comes to Sir Lewis Hamilton, we're talking about icon, a sensation, an enigma, an ambassador. But for you guys, what is so special about Sir Lewis Hamilton in your eyes? And what is it about him that inspires you, in Formula One or even just in your own personal life?
Ari, you go first.
Okay, yeah, I'll go first. When I learned more about Lewis after watching the series, I guess one thing that I found, an emotional connection with him is just how proud he is to be different. In every way possible compared to the other drivers on the grid. And also just his story of how he's risen within the sport. Just a very, very driven person, very focused. He had to overcome a lot. Like he has always had obstacles in his way from a very young age. And so I think for me, I don't know, I just could relate as, a person of color. It's just really inspiring to see someone at that ranking, I guess, and just using his platform as well to give a voice to so many issues that I relate to as well, to have as many passions as he does that, I have similar passions on. So that's, yeah, there's a multitude of reasons, but I guess it's really just that connection of just being proud to be different.
That's so true. And that's another thing you touched on there as well, Ari. And actually, I'm going to pitch this one to Sarah as well to engage her in this conversation a lot too. Like, we've touched on the adversities, the day in, days out, day out struggles that Sir Lewis will have to experience and has experienced throughout his career when, he was driving karts, even in his debut year as a rookie when he was up with a Fernando Alonso, even just like, his dominant phases, which are still dominant to me now in Formula One, and even just in the more recent times where, like, the W13, it hasn't quite lived up to its potential that we hope it's going to realize soon. But Sarah, like, for a person which, is a global icon, he's a trendsetter, he's an advocate for human rights, equality, environmental sustainability. He sounds like most people's dream man, hero. Like, Sarah, why is it that you feel that he still faces a lot of adversity? And
Yeah.
how is it within the 44 community we can go about supporting him, without us like gaining the brand of being toxic or tribal or cultish? And I know the reason, but I know that you're gonna articulate the response to this very well. So
Oh, I wish I was as articulate as I can write. Unfortunately, I'm not.
oh,
But it's my Achilles, but I will try. Um, for me, Lewis means so much because I kind of grew up with him. Like I walked that path with him because I was like in my younger years, in my girlhood years. So I grew up with him with that like figure to look up to. So a lot of people see Lewis as he is now a role model and everything, but to me, what like to me, Lewis is much more relatable because I saw the flow, but I also saw the growth of the man he became, the man he turned into from the teenage he was back in 2007. So that's what I like the most, like the path and the growth about him, about like the highs and lows, the roller coaster. And it's absolutely beautiful and inspiring that despite what he's going through, despite all the hate, all the slander, and all the standards that he's held to, he keeps rising. And even if it's not right, he's not rising, he's trying. Like people, like for successful people, as he said, um, it's not easy to sustain such a level of performance consistently year in, year out. And the resilience of Lewis makes him more admirable in my book. That's why I like I relate to him, but I also look up to him. Sometimes I want to give up on things in my daily life, but when I look to him, I'm like, wow, he's so inspiring. That the constant search of improving, growing, and rising above all the struggles. So um, that's what we tried to reflect on the 44. Not like thinking too much of ourselves, but really trying to reflect and to embody those value of Lewis. Like um, you will very rarely listen to hear Lewis saying something bad about the young ones or the rivals or anything. He's always like, oh, this guy did a good job, fair to him, fair play to him. I will do a better job next time. So that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to like portray Lewis in that positive light, that positive way. We want like that positive discourse around a guy we thought is so great and so admirable, you know. Um, it's about showing him, like, we are not saying he's flawless because we all have flaws because we
sure.
are human. But despite everything, he's always trying. Like, he's the first person to raise hands and say, oh, I didn't do a great job. I need to do better. And that's something that I admire most than expecting perfection from him. But
Yeah, I
that's
think
what
so.
we try to convey with the 44.
Well, I think that answer, Sarah, was really beautiful, and the way that you've explained it there, you've said it's like you're a mind reader. You've said everything I could potentially say as well, and I'm gonna big you up on your articulation too, because you articulated it so precisely, but so organically, and in a way as well. I sat there and I could listen to you talk about Lewis all day. I think Sarah just needs her own kind of thing as well. Just just there, just like talking about Lewis, because I can listen to you all day about that. But I agree, like Lewis is just his mental resilience, his capacity, his humbleness as a human being as well. Because even when the highs are high, he doesn't put himself or impose himself above other people. He's always talking about the team. He's always talking about
Exactly.
the factory. He's always talking about the workers, whether it's the engineers, whether it's the catering stuff, making the dinners or wiping the floors. All of them are equally as important, and it's a team effort. And I
Yeah,
think, like you said, that's why we all gravitate towards him, because, like, although I don't see him as normal, I think he's abnormal in terms of his achievements and in terms of just how I put that guy in terms of my estimations. You're correct. He's a human being like everyone else in that sense. And even though we see him sometimes in that way, he doesn't. He likes to sit down and just before I go on a huge tangent, because there's some other stuff I want to go through with you guys as well. Ted Kravitz, Sky Sports presenter, was sitting today and he's talking about like, the whole Miami Gardens situation. And, for the listeners at home, if you haven't heard about why the Miami Gardens Grand Prix has been maybe a bit more controversial, please make sure you check out the episode with Malik. Segue there,
mhm,
but just generally, it's the kind of area where this race is being held in Miami is in the more working class, less affluent like area, predominantly kind of like lived by the black community. And unfortunately, when the F1 people and FOM they went about organizing this race, they didn't really take too much input from the native community, which I feel was a real shame and a miss from the opportunity. But again, getting to Ted Kravitz, he said that Lewis went out and he got, I think, over 10,000 kids from the community to come into the Hard Rock Stadium where the Miami Dolphins play, which is in the middle of the circuit. And
wow.
he was just giving the kids like a one-to-one kind of about, they can basically follow their dreams, and that that there's a lot of opportunities out there in like STEM subjects, so science, technology, English, and maths. And that like he was the first of his kind as well, and just through having the right coaching, the right discipline, the right love and nurturing throughout his earlier parts of his career, he was able to do it. And he's saying, well, if I could do it, you guys can do it too, because you guys are the future of the world. You guys are the future
Lewis
of
can
the world.
really sell you sand in the middle of the desert. I promise you.
Exactly. And like all the animals, I think, would gravitate towards him like Moses, because he's just that guy. He's the guy. And I think, yeah, there's lots of people which maybe they don't come from the same struggle, or they might not be able to identify maybe the way we do. But I still feel it's a shame that, those people, they slander Lewis and they try and kick a man whilst he's down, when Lewis does so much for the sport, because it'd be easy for him to walk away with his championships. It'd be easy for him to just
Exactly.
say, I've done what I've achieved in Formula One, and that's it. It'd be easy for him to just go where the money is. And where it's difficult is
Yeah,
it's difficult. It's not easy to be different. It's not easy to have courage. It's not easy to talk up when everyone else is being silent. And he's just the guy. I just, yeah, like I think we could continue the segment for an entire hour, because this is you were to sit down and document everything Lewis did, it would never end. And I think
yeah,
in a way that's
absolutely. And it really hurts because when you see how Lewis treat the other drivers, be they former or current drivers, they don't extend the same courtesy to him. And
mhm,
when I listened to him today, what he said about the Mika Hakkinen comments or like Helmut Marko, it's so like opposite to what he says about the other driver. You remember how he praised Lando? Oh, he's driving so well. Or he even praised Verstappen, who I dislike very much,
yeah.
but he praised them every time he gets the chance. he always has nice things to say about them, but on the other hand, he doesn't receive the same like flowers, and I wonder why. It really, really pains me, but that's
It's
just
sad.
how things are. It's
It's
really
true.
sad, yeah.
It's saddening, and I agree with you. It hurts because he means to do no wrong, and like you've also said, he has such humility. On a day where maybe he doesn't extract the maximum of what he could do, like you said, he's always giving thanks and praise to the other drivers, and always mindful. He's very conscious emotionally and even socially about what's happening around him. And I just don't think you find many stars like that in a business like Formula One. So I absolutely agree just with everything said here in relation to that part. So guys, what I'll do now is I'll move on to the next segment. This one's a bit more it's a bit more kind of interactive, and it's been inspired by the great Georgina Donna, as I love to say. This segment's called Guess the Word, and essentially Ari and Sarah, I'm gonna give you some clues, and you guys have
Oh,
to guess the
No.
word that I'm on about. So, like, don't feel like embarrassed or like thing because you guys weren't prepped about this. But again, I just thought it'd be really fun. And maybe the listeners at home, when they're listening to this podcast, they could as well like try and like engage and see what answers they come up with. So without further ado, the first word I want you guys to guess is he's the best dog in the world. And sorry, Georgie, it's not Duke. Well, I mean, Duke comes a close
it's
second.
either my dog Lewis or Roscoe.
Roscoe.
Hey, Roscoe. Yep, that was the answer I had in mind. So again, you see, you
But
guys are
but
good at this.
my dog Lewis is a serious contender though.
Okay, we'll give him an honorable shout out to Lewis as well, Sarah's dog as well. Most definitely. And also Duke as well, which is Georgina's dog. Because I want to keep my role here. I don't want Georgina to fire me after this episode. So huge shout out to Duke as well, man. He's a legend. But okay, that was number one. And see, you guys got it. So that's cool. All right, second one. So the clues for this one is Lewis is often quite known for his fashion, and this is I would say Instagrammer. She has Twitter as well. She has Twitter as well, but mainly known for being on Instagram, and she documents what Lewis wears. Who is
Amazing
this?
Blue.
Hey, Ari, again, you're on fire.
Rashi. Oh, love her. Hi, Rashi,
Oh,
if you're listening to this.
She's amazing.
she
Well,
really
amazing,
is.
you.
She
Right?
really
She's
is.
incredible.
She really is. And just like I
Like
saw her
thanks
the other
to
day.
her.
Like
No, oh, you saw her. Where?
no, like I was gonna say, like Naomi Schiff, which also is a great host as well, doing her bit on Sky F1. There was like an interview where she was interviewing Lewis, and chopping up about the car, chopping up about like the season, and then she was like, "Oh, have you seen this like very creative like account out there? They're called
Oh
Amazing
yeah,
You,
the,
and
the interview with Naomi. Yeah.
yeah,
I
and then
remember
like
that
Lewis like, yeah,
one.
I know this account. She knows everything I wear. I was like, oh my god, could you imagine like Lewis being on Sky Sports F1 and like talking about you and like acknowledging the work that you actually do as well? Like, oh, that's amazing. I just love the interaction and also that there's so many people out there that they document so many different elements of what Lewis does, whether it's on or off the circuit, and they get their flowers to it. So beautiful to see. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. So I think you guys will get this one quite easily, actually. Um, he got a 25 grid penalty at this race. I want the year and I want the country.
Brazil
2021, what is it?
21.
Yeah, so
This
I
has
heard,
to be the best race ever.
yep, I agree with you there as well, Sarah. Oh, just can we talk about that for a minute? How were your guys' reactions when you watched like Brazil 2021? Give me emotions from like Friday when we turned up with the spicy engine,
No.
then like
Wow.
the penalty for the wing after qualifying, then the sprint race, and I want to know it both from both of your
Well,
perspectives.
I think after him being disqualified in qualifying, I was like, well, it's lost. We lost it. Um, well, we'll just vibe now.
Mhm.
So I started a watch party with my sister Gigi, and my love Roxy, and we sat and like watched the race on FaceTime, and we saw him like go from P20 to P5.
Mhm.
And we were like, oh my God, we can actually win this. It was so crazy. Like, and since I have F1 TV, so I also put Lewis on board, and he didn't say a single word for the entire sprint qualifying. I was like, oh my God, he's so in the zone. It was so, uh, I don't know, like just in the zone. It was magnetic. It was intense, so intense. It was about intensity.
Mhm.
So when the sprint qualifying ended, I was like, nothing can beat that. And Lewis said, "Oh, my W12."
Oh, it was a dream, wasn't it? And then even this race day as well, just
Absolutely.
like with the flares, and the Brazilian when he picked up the Brazilian flag and just that guy that we don't give
Yeah,
him too
that's
much
the love
attention.
I want for him every single race. Like,
Hmm.
I want that for him. He deserves it so much.
You've said it,
Yeah.
sorry. The key word there is deserve. He's so deserving of it. Absolutely, I agree. Just with the way that he handles himself and just how masterful he is behind the wheel as well. It's like watching Shakespeare do poetry. It's crazy. Like I love it. So yeah, great responses there as well, guys. Okay, there's two more, and in fact, I'm gonna be more evil. I'm gonna get Ari to answer the next one. It's not this one, the next one. And Sarah, I'm gonna make you do this one I'm about to ask you. So, I would like the
Mhm.
year Lewis won his first championship.
Really?
Go on. Yep, you come on. Tell me.
This is so easy.
I know. Go on. Tell me.
2008
Yep. Yep. Again, and no kind of irony there as well. Brazil again with this
again.
another
Like, is
sensational
that
drive there.
Glock? Is that Glock? I mean,
Is Glock glowing slowly? Is that Glock?
is that Glock going slowly? Oh, so many emotions. I mean, sometimes when you've been following him for as long as I have,
Mhm.
um, Lewis means like he's a brother, he's like friend, he's like the community best friend, as my friend Anlia likes to say. Lewis is the community best boyfriend, he's the best friend, he's the brother, he's the one you want to do so well. Is the moral compass, is the role model, is so many stuff. And um, well, I just wish him the best. And I hope Ari gets a very difficult question.
Oh well, I've been saving the best till last, Ari. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
No pressure. No pressure here at all. I think you'll get this guy though. So all I'm gonna say is get in there, Lewis.
Bono?
Okay, 5 out of 5,
Yay!
5 out of 5. You guys are on fire. You guys on fire. Like you didn't even make it a challenge. Just, you guys absolutely dominated it. Like Lewis Hamilton in a W11. Love to see it. Oh, that was sensational. And I'm really glad I did this too, because through some of those answers, it triggered some memories there as well, and just people which I feel they're there, but we don't speak enough about either, like Roscoe or Amazing Lou, or even just Bono
Mm.
being Bono as well. So, yeah, awesome. So awesome. Well, guys, so moving away from the game show aspect and back into the questions, then one thing I wanted to ask you about is Mission 44. So, I think it probably started in 2020, amongst the Black Lives Matter movement, and a lot of things are happening in that particular year, and it pretty much grew from that point onwards. But Mission 44, guys, what is it, and how can the stars of the future get involved in it?
Well, Mission 44, I think, is Lewis's. as we know, his foundation that he's launched.
Mhm.
And it's really to support and empower, I guess, the future from those, I guess, less represented communities or groups in the United Kingdom. And what I really love about it is Lewis and the team that he's put together for this have kind of thought about all the different channels or different aspects that need to be addressed when it comes to opening opportunity and opening access for these people to get into the industry. So really, like, what I guess from Lewis and his team and what they're doing right now, I think is they're trying to build up as many connections to the industry at this time. They announced that they have this partnership or they have this funding from Sky, which is a massive thing to do, seeing that, you guys know how big Sky has, I guess, a part in F1. And I guess what I think people need to first do when they want to get involved or want to just support Mission 44 is actually first off read the Hamilton Commission, because I think it is intertwined with Mission 44. Just really educate themselves on why the Mission 44 is needed and how underrepresented these communities are that Lewis is really trying to give these opportunities to. So one, I think, is to educate yourself on the vision and why. And the second thing, I think, I'm not too sure, you can make donations in that sense. So I think the second thing to do is really prop up Mission 44, even if it's just mentioning them on socials, or if you see those news updates when they secure that new partnership, we should really prop them up, because that's what's going to help them, I guess, gain the momentum, gain that exposure to continue doing the work that they need to do at this time. But I'm sure Lewis and his team have a lot of things kind of being created in the background. And I'm sure, throughout the year, maybe especially at Silverstone, when it's on home territory, that these things will be announced or implemented.
Oh, that was a splendid explanation there, Ari. And I think it basically outlines everything that people need to do that are listening into this podcast, and hopefully just generally with the movement of Mission 44 kind of committee as well, because it's huge. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this, Ari or Sarah, in the last 10, 20 years. And even just like relaying it back to something personal, I remember going to school. And when I was at school, they were like, okay, cool. So you can basically go to Oxford if you're really smart and rich and your family are rich. Or, you could just like go down the music route and become like a rapper. And I was like, don't really fancy that, to be honest. I'd quite fancy, doing something with Formula One or, something like that. But unfortunately, back then, there wasn't really a foundation or really a committee or a route, a clear and concise route, that you could follow to go through the kind of path that's being created now. And for me, I ended up just going down the legal route and, becoming studying my law degree, getting my master's, then working with like a law firm for a couple of years and being in the position I am today. But I've always said to myself, if I could go back into time today, or if I was one of the kids growing up today, I would be so excited, because it just looks like there's a space opening up. And although you could argue that these opportunities should have always been there, it's amazing now that, through the works of what you guys are doing, the works of Mission 44, the works of Lewis, and all the stakeholders getting involved as well, that there is finally, some inclusivity, some diversity, some opportunity, because that's the thing that we only need. We're not asking to be, like put on a pedestal or, just to be picked randomly. We're asking for opportunity, because opportunity is the key to many doors in life. And I think once you get the opportunity, it inspires you. It instills more confidence in you to work hard and to achieve the goals that you have set in your mind as well.
Absolutely.
Exactly, and like, that's the thing. Growing up, in North London, there was kind of a kind of like downturn, you could say, because many kids they had lots of potential, lots of talent, but the teachers only saw things in one dimension, and they just said, well, either you could do this or you're not good enough. And I don't think that that's true at all. I think there's so many young people out there with so many different talents and so many different ways of, like extracting them. And I'm so thankful, for the work that you guys are doing, the work that, Mission 44 is doing to at least bring this to the forefront. And I'm really happy because whilst I admit there's never going to be another Lewis, just I don't care what you do. Even if you were to like try and take that man's DNA and you were to make a clone, it still wouldn't be the same. It's just nice
Really?
to know. It's just nice to know, that there are going to be people like Lewis, other people as well from all different parts of the world, continents, that we're able to be part of something big. And we see the effect that Formula One has, the technology from the cars ends up going to road cars. It helps actually, with the environment and making everything more sustainable. Even during the pandemic, I think, the great team in Brixworth at Mercedes AMG, they were making like face masks, and they're making like I think oxygen like basically equipment, for the hospitals that are really run down by the pandemic. So even if it's not mechanical engineering in the sense of a Formula One car, there's so many skills and so many like people that are needed in this workforce right now. And it's
Mm.
great that we're taking the investment and trying to reinvest it in youth. It's really sensational, and I'm just so happy as well. So 100% there. So okay, guys, I'm gonna move on to the next question because I'm glad that both of you are actually on the show because you guys are like there's many amazing women out there, but if you want to know about strong, independent, creative, brave women, I think you guys probably be on speed dial for me, and probably my mom too. To be fair, shout out to my mom. But the
I say
question,
more Ari, but there you go.
I say both of you. I'm putting you both on the podium personally. But the question really is, is that we've seen like the breakthrough of a couple of women in F1. We've had the likes of Claire Williams as a team principal. I think Sarah might remember during the Sauber days of Manisha Cattleborn being like team principal there as well. And even for just like a glimmer of hope, we even had Susie Wolf like test for Williams and be a full-time like test driver for them. But
That's
the
right.
general kind of gist of the question really is just what can we do to perhaps put more women in positions of power in Formula One? And just generally as well, you still got people out there like Jamie Chadwick, a current driver, Naomi Schiff, which I think she's absolutely slapping the likes of Nico Rosberg and, the fake pundits out there, you know, and also the likes of like, Susie Wolf, which is still a team principal in Formula E, and Danica Patrick as well, which has had so much success, in the North American content and also is doing a bit of punditry as well. But main question is how can we push women to the forefront as well?
Well, maybe we'll ask Georgina.
Yeah, if the boss lady's here as well, I know that she's on Twitter doing up Twitter fingers. But Georgina, did you want to answer this question as well?
Wait, what was the question?
Wait, wait, she's been exposed. She's been exposed. I'm just joking. So Georgina, like you've been basically our phone a friend, and the question is, what do you think we could do to push women to be more at the forefront of sports like Formula One, for example?
Well, first of all, we need to get those men with the high egos that feel so vulnerable in front of women because, they're the main reason that the women are supposed to be getting stuck at some point. Because look at Jamie Chadwick. I mean, she's supposed to be in F1 and she's still in a women's series, stuck there. And everyone is keep saying that, oh, she should be in F1, she should be in F1. But all these men, none of these men try to take her to F1. They keep
Yeah.
yapping but doing nothing, you know? Yeah, I suddenly woke up and choose violence today.
Wait, well, we prefer you to choose something. So I think that was a good response. And Ari, Sarah, what are your thoughts on that too? And from your perspectives as well, how do you see this one?
Look, for me,
Well, yeah. Go on,
for
Ari.
me,
Go
I
on.
would because F1 is a team sport, right? I think, aside from pundits and, the drivers, I think it needs to start from the ground up. You need to see more women in the garages. You need to see more female engineers and more mechanics. And that needs to really come from the company culture of every single team. So that needs to happen first. And then that will start to create a space that I guess adjusts to having women so commonly seen in that environment. And then I think all that visibility of women being in garages will lead to, I guess, female drivers and I guess more positions being available for women. So it really needs to start not even from the driver and down. It needs to start from the down upwards. So taking those small baby steps, really looking into the company culture and the way that they're employing people, from those smaller jobs, from the behind the scenes jobs. And then I guess just it's something that needs to take its time. You can't really just thrust women into these high profile spots within F1. I think at first, like, yes, it would kind of seem tokenistic. So I think that's why they need to take with building the team first with women and then bringing women into those more, I guess, iconic roles.
Yeah, I think that's a really constructive and very thought out answer there as well, Ari. Thank you for that. Sarah, what are your thoughts on this? And is there anything maybe that Ari hasn't mentioned that you'd like to also express?
Yeah, I completely agree with Ari, and I share that thought that it must start from the bottom. And I remember once Lewis did an interview where he was talking about representation. And like, I don't know if I mentioned it, but the fact that I started following F1 was because Lewis was Black. Not that I wouldn't watch a white sport or a white dominated sport, but I can identify and relate to someone that looks like me. And to have that representation has to be mindset, corporate mindset. Like, we have to get more women into the work environment so that it can be normalized. We should normalize hiring more women. And I think it also stems in what the Hamilton Commission had found out, that the same reason why we don't have a lot of like people from diversity is the same reason why we don't have a lot of women, because like the pool where they are chasing talent is too narrow, and they need to widen it. We need wider pools from where the teams get their talent. And like the Accelerate 25 program from Mercedes is really, really commendable, because they are like trying to get the workforce more diverse. And I hope it means more women that will inspire other girls, young girls, to get into the motorsport industry. And eventually, ultimately, we will have more female mechanics, more female engineers, and maybe, finger crossed, a female driver.
Yeah, I think actually Sarah is right. Because I think from Mercedes there was a video of apprenticeship where a girl was chosen and she was actually doing the pit stop jobs as well. But when it comes to most of the teams, including Mercedes, of course, they have women doing the PR jobs and representing the drivers during their media speeches, media talks, and all. But there's none for a driver's seat, because there's lack of representation, and there are so many positions that a woman can get involved, and I have only seen it from Mercedes side. Maybe because I'm biased and I'm looking at them a lot. Maybe the other teams might have. I'm not sure. But as far as I know, it's only Mercedes. And when it comes to the diversity, also, it's only Mercedes. So there's an issue within
I
F1.
think
There's an
there's
issue
also
within the teams as
McLaren.
well.
I said I think also McLaren, they have also a diversity program. I think they call it Accelerate,
Oh,
if
that's
I'm not
great.
mistaken.
Actually, so that's what they need to improve it. They need to increase it because there should be a mix of everything. It's a multicultural world. It's a multicultural country for every country. It's not just one race. There are so many races, and that brings a lot of good things, not bad things. So people need to change their views, and they need to change their views about women as well. Because if there wasn't a woman, then you won't be in this world as well. So there's that. So they need to respect the women first.
Shut up, mom. But yeah, I absolutely second everything that everyone said as well. You know, practice makes perfect. And as Ari and Sarah said as well, like if you can get the working culture correct from the ground up and you make practice a perfect and you put those working customs in from such an early grassroots level, then the higher you go up the chain, the more normalized it is to people as well, and the more conditioned they are to see, that women should be in these positions. And as you guys have correctly touched on as well, Mercedes, well, again, there could be other teams, like Sarah said with McLaren, but at least with us being more in the Mercedes portion of stuff, you see people like Stephanie Travers. I think we need to give her a shout out, just being one of the lead engineers with AMG and with Mercedes F1. She's kind of a crossover engineer, I believe, with Mercedes and Petronas in taking samples from Lewis Hamilton's engine with the fuel and this running diagnostic tests in like a I guess a really high tech piece of equipment, which it takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of brain and knowledge and experience to do that role. And it's just amazing that you're already seeing it emerge in some places. But as Georgie's saying too, you don't want it to just be in certain roles that then become typical. You want it to be like the actual main event roles as well, like the drivers, and it should be. It's really like a disgrace almost, I feel, in a way that we haven't come round to the idea, or there hasn't been a way that that's been incorporated or enabled to happen. Because you can't tell me that Jamie Chadwick's slower than Latifi, for example. No way. You couldn't tell me that like Jamie Chadwick isn't as talented as Nikita Mazepin. No way. So I agree. Like, there's something much more to it than, what the people at the top tell us. And I think you guys are absolutely on the money. And obviously, with these communities, with these commissions that we've talked about as well, it's going to start putting the heat on the big people. And they're going to start having to be accountable, for the actions. They're not going to be able to go to sleep, and rest so easy because, we're coming for them, and that's the main thing too. So I absolutely agree with everything said. And I'm very satisfied that we had this part of the conversation as well. So moving on to the next bit, guys, like we've talked a lot about Lewis being a very positive person. And I think in a way that radiates in the way that Mercedes are just as a team, and how even when things don't go in the right direction, they'll still take optimistic or very kind of like positive outlook on it. But this season, obviously, with the controversy that happened last year, we were all hoping that, Mercedes would turn up on the A game. The W13 would be, the W11 and 12 reincarnated in different guys and absolutely demolish the pack. But, she's struggling. And I think she needs a bit more time. I think they need a bit more time to fully understand, the kind of fundamentals of that car and maybe its potentials in the upcoming races for the rest of the season. But where I'm going with this question, guys, is that Mercedes admin, and also I'm being very careful here because I know you guys have a good relationship with Mercedes admin, so, guys. So of course, Mercedes admin, if you're listening to this, please don't kill Ari or Sarah, and please continue to engage with the 44. I like seeing when it happens, but yeah, just like I think at times some fans within our community can be a bit annoyed with Mercedes admin or just generally with the team, because like we want Lewis to be doing really well, and we know that it's not really him, it's the car, and that's obvious. It's very clear to see. But then sometimes Toto might come out and he'll just say something like, yeah, well, we're collecting data. which I think I've heard that one about 5,000 times. Or, like, for example, oh, yeah, like, like we've got a 30% chance of winning the championship at this stage. I get it. You're trying to manage people's expectations and still try and flip a positive spin on it. But there comes a point where, like, you've also got to be realistic too. So the real question is that, do you think some of the criticism the fans give, like, I don't even want to really call it Mercedes Twitter, but the team, I'm just going to say the team going forward. Do you think the criticisms of the team are justified? Do you think maybe the social media outlets could be a bit more transparent with what the team is struggling with without actually giving away fundamental or key information to competitors? Tough question, I know. When I read this one, I was like,
I think in my humble opinion, there is nothing at the moment that the team could say that would be like welcomed as like, because the results are not pleasing. I want to put myself in the shoes of the Merck admin at the moment, or the team overall. There is no piece of information they can give at the moment that would be like reassuring or encouraging, because like we've been taken into like an unknown territory, and I think people hurt, especially hurt because of what happened in Abu Dhabi. So the expectations were very high, and it's like a massive fall out. So I don't think the Mercedes admin are doing fundamentally bad in terms of their communication, because what are they supposed to say? Oh, we are so bad. No, they can't.
True.
All they can say is we are doing our best. We'll try to improve. We are putting it to work. That's basically what they are saying. Of course, it's not pleasing for us as fans, because we have so high expectations for them, because they are 8 times world champion. Lewis is a 7 asterisk X8 world champion. So we expect more. So it's just like our frustration and disappointment speaking more than Mercedes actually doing a bad job at communicating. Because I don't like, when I look back last year, they are doing pretty much the same as what they have been doing in previous years, just that today the results are not following, and we are pretty much frustrated. So we react in a way, because we are very much sensitive about it. So we react to what we got, but it's not that the communication from the team is bad per se. It's the result that I say it's bad, but it is what it is. So, well, let's see. Hopefully they sort out whatever they have to sort out, and eventually if we can get back to the front, well, let's see.
No, sorry, I think that was a very good, and my apologies, sorry for the cough there. I think you answered that question very diplomatically and very positively too, because I agree. It's not sorry, dying here. It's not really frustration with Mercedes admin, like you said. It's the situation. And yes, I also absolutely agree with that point you mentioned as well, this relation to the whole pressure that I guess Mercedes admin are under sometimes. Because like you rightfully said, I think it doesn't come from a horrible place. I think that when you're a successful team and you're a multi-year winning team, there becomes an expectation to win all the time. And obviously, like you've said as well, they've tried their best, to appease people, but at the same time as well, not to gaslight the situation, but not to reveal anything that could potentially be useful to the other teams either. They've just been very professional. and just trying to keep everybody positive and on the right trajectory as well. So I think he gave a really good answer there, and thankfully as well, thank you for answering that one, because I was like, ooh, this is a sticky one. Can I ask them that? I was like, okay, I'll find a diplomatic way to ask them without Ari flying over to England to kill me. So yeah, that's good news. So guys, what else do I have here for you guys? Okay, so just another question, because I know Ari, this one's for you. You went to the Australian Grand Prix, the first one in quite a few years.
Yeah.
How was your experience? Tell us everything from like the day you rocked up there, qualifying, behind the scenes, race day, post race. What was the experience like?
Oh, everything. Well, first off, it was my first Grand Prix ever, so it was such a good first Grand Prix experience, I think. Um, there was 400,000 plus people across the weekend, so it was a really good atmosphere, lots and lots of people on the track. In terms of my experience, so I was seated right opposite the pit lane garages. So, for the free practice sessions, I got to see all the cars exit the pit lane. It was so cool, like to see Lewis just in his car. Like even though I couldn't see his face or anything, like just him in his car driving. I think that's such a privilege to see, because you never know when he's going to leave the sport. So I'm just really thankful that I got to see him drive. I went from Thursday to the race day. I think what Australia do really well in is that it gives a lot of opportunities for the drivers and the teams to interact with the fans. So I don't believe in many other Grand Prix that they have what they had fan forums. So what they did one night is each pairing of the drivers from the teams, they had like a 15 to 20-minute session on stage. They were answering questions from fans, and it really just gave a more intimate opportunity for the fans to get up close with the drivers. However, it's just my luck that so part of my ticket, like I also got to do a sunset tour of the grid. I got to go up close to the pit lane garages. It was great timing that I even saw Lewis Hamilton's car come into the garage, and I guess the team were working on it whilst I was there. One of the things that was happening, though, that was part of my ticket, was like a private reception with Valtteri Bottas, and that happened to coincide with the Mercedes fan forum, I guess, schedule. So whilst I was in this like hospitality room with maybe 50 other people listening to an interview with Valtteri Bottas, Lewis and George Russell were on stage with the fans.
No!
Just my timing.
No.
No!
But as a fan, I couldn't ask for more. So just a shout out to admin. Like, I know Mercedes admin has been copying a lot of heat right now, but in terms of their engagement with the fans, I think it's top notch. You can't really compare it to the other teams. I actually struggled one day. There's a section of the circuit, it's called Melbourne Walk, and that's essentially the area that the teams, the drivers, and personnel walk through to get to like the paddock area, all those exclusive areas. And so the fans can actually wait there behind the barricades and ask for things to be signed and take photos. However, me being 5'2" and not able to fight my way through the crowd, I missed Angela, Lewis's right hand woman. Like I missed out on her, and I had a gift for Lewis because the crowd was massive. So, I thought let's just see where this goes if I direct message admin on Twitter and just say like, look, me and my friend are here at Melbourne Walk. I couldn't see Angela just because of the size of the crowd. Could I give my gift to a team member to give to Lewis? And he actually came out. He found my friend and I, which he didn't have to do. Also came out with Lewis's photographer, and he gave our gifts to Lewis. And
Oh,
Lewis's photographer took some photos of us, which is really cool. So just a little, appreciation for admin, because I think they really do try the most out of all the other teams to interact with the fans and just, listen to the fans. But aside from that, watching all the sessions from free practice to the race, it was chaotic. Like there was things happening every single session. There was a yellow flags, safety cars, the mood, the weather was so moody. There was always something happening. So I'm really glad that it was very interesting for me. And I think Australian fans we're not very aggressive in the sense that I didn't really hear any booing for any of the drivers, which is it's really nice. And even though there was a strong McLaren fan base, by the way, because of Danny Rick, obviously.
sure.
But you never really felt a sense of hostility towards a certain driver. I guess whilst I was sitting and watching everything, which is really good. I think maybe it's just Australian culture to be chill, but yeah, I'm really glad I was in an Australian crowd for my first experience. Now I'm going to compare how the crowd is in Singapore. But yeah, I had an amazing time. Met so many people from F1 Twitter.
Yeah, I really love that for you, Ari.
Thank you.
I'm absolutely loving that for you. Like for first experience, it's so cool.
Yeah, it felt like a music festival. It was it was exhausting. Like it was fun, but it was exhausting. But I fully believe that Lewis knows who I am, which for me is a win. There was this time in the drivers' parade, and this was the day that Lewis liked my tweet on Twitter, and it was like 1 a.m. when he liked it, because I woke up and my phone was full of notifications like, wake up, Harry, like he liked it. Wake up. I freaked out. But then hours later, like during the drivers parade, I had my flag, and they had their own individual cars doing one lap of the circuit. And when he came to my grandstand, I was next to another couple that had a Lewis Hamilton flag as well. And I swear to you, he saw me, he pointed, and he waved at me, and I'm like, I knew that was for me. I felt like he recognized me. Now I don't have any footage because my dad dropped his phone at the so I'm a bit heartbroken, but yeah, it's everything and more that I could ask for a first Grand Prix experience.
It sounds perfect, Arian. Honestly, like you're selling it to me. Like I just wanna, even though it's like practically impossible for Silverstone because those tickets they sold out. Like they just went. They just dipped like nuggets in sauce. Honestly,
Yeah.
but you're making me just want to do it as well, because I say this to Georgie as well. Like I'm a super introverted guy outside of the AMG Dens exterior, but when you hear these amazing like personal stories about like people like you going to these races and having such an awesome just nirvana of an experience, you're just like, yeah, you have to. And then with Lewis as well being on the grid, but then us not knowing how long he'll be there, it's so precious. I think it's such an invaluable experience, and just like you live with that for the rest of your life as well. And huge shout out to Mercedes admin too, because they've done a really great job there. And like it must be hard for them to. I know sometimes for me, I find it hard to respond to like 10 people. So when you're responding to like 4 million or however many people it is that follow them these days, just it's crazy, And yeah, that's such a cool experience, Ari. And I couldn't think of a better person that deserves it more. Just like you fully deserve that. And I'm sure it won't be the last. There's gonna be many that are gonna come your way, Sarah's way, and everybody's way as well. And on the topic of Sarah too, Sarah, are you going to any races this year, or like we're gonna have to drag you out somewhere and like if you're not
I'm
going
going
to a race? Oh, you're going
I'm
to one, okay.
to Brazil. US is
Yay!
mind
Basically,
you, I'm sorry, but the real home race is Brazil.
that's true. That's true.
So yeah, I'm going to Brazil with my sister Gigi
Shout
and
out
my
Gigi.
bestie Roxy.
Oh, you guys are gonna have a splendid time. And just the vibes? Could you just imagine the
Yeah,
vibes?
and unlike Ari, my first race track experience was not that good
Oh,
because I chose Monza.
yeah, the Tafosi.
And the booing was awful, like
Oh,
all weekend. All weekend. It was awful. Like at the end of the weekend, Gigi and I, we were like, it's either we never come back to Italy again, or because it felt so. Well, let's not go that road. We want to stay positive, but we met Lewis, but the overall experience wasn't great at all, and
oh.
I don't think I will ever attend an Italian Grand Prix.
It's
You know,
fully understandable though, and it's a shame that the fans. So, and I dare even call them fans because they're not really
that's why I'm
fans.
so happy for Ari because her first trackside experience was so great. And she was like, "Oh, you should have come to Australia. They are so cheap." And I was like, why didn't
Yeah.
I think about going to Australia instead of, well,
Well, it
whatever.
makes you think though, Sarah, doesn't it? Because like the F1 will try and sell you a dream that Monza, like Monaco, these kind of high-profile Grand Prix is the one you need to go through. But that's
Well,
not true. It's not
honestly,
true.
I didn't enjoy it in the slightest. Like all weekend, and And like what Ari is saying about Lewis waving, pointing at you, it's such a Lewis thing to do, because we met after qualifying, and he asked us where we would be seated, and when he passed by, he pointed at us, and we were like two black faces in the middle of a Red Sea, all
Jeez.
geared up with the Mercedes T and everything. And he saw us in the middle, and he was like, "Hey, I see you," and we were so happy. Like the way Lewis makes you feel special, like I can't even describe it. And I was like, when Ari was going, I was like, I hope you see Lewis. I hope you meet him. Like because I want that experience for every single team LH, because it's so special. It's so special. It makes you feel special. I can't even explain it. It's like it
It must
has
be magical. It must be magical.
absolutely. And he's so collected, but still very warm and very engaging. And so when Ari talks about the Australian experience, it's like very reminiscent of how he made me feel in Monza, despite all the monkey chants and the booing and all the bad stuff. He was still like holding his head high and trying to make you have a good experience. The first thing he asked us was, "Oh, are you guys? I heard it's your first time around the track. Are you having a good time?" That's the first
Wow.
question he asked. So, um, honestly, he's a special guy, and I wish him the best again. So I really,
Oh, I
Ari
simply
and I, we
put,
should go to Grand Prix together.
maybe
Yeah.
you guys should make that a thing. Like you guys should just travel 1 year to all the Grand Prix, and I think that would be an awesome content. We'd love to see that.
When I find a sugar daddy.
Hey, let's find Ari and Sugar Daddy. Hashtag Sugar Daddy for Ari. We're gonna hashtag that one.
Absolutely.
Oh, it'd be amazing. But I disagree. You know, and although some of the stuff there unfortunately wasn't so positive, and I'm sorry, Sarah, like you had to experience that because no one should have to experience that, let alone a queen like you. No one should have to go through that
Oh,
kind of
you're
thing you
so
went through
sweet.
in Monza. It's the truth though, and it's it's sad that there are a minority that spoil it for the majority out there that just want to experience real racing, regardless or irrespective of what team they support. So I was really saddened to hear that. But then in relation to what Ari said, there is a positive side. And also another thing I wanted to take away from that is FOM, because I know one of you brothers are listening to this saucy podcast. I need you to do exactly what you do with the Australian Grand Prix in some of the other places too, because just like what Ari said about, like the Melbourne Walk thing where fans could essentially congregate there and try and catch up with the drivers. I think that that's amazing for the sport. And me growing up in a time where it was like Michael Schumacher and he was so highly regarded, but then he was like a mysterious character because the drivers didn't do much PR or socialization with the fans. Social media wasn't a thing. It was really tricky. But now, like you guys have both mentioned, the engagement is really special. And just to even know that, in your case, Sarah, like Lewis knew it was your first Grand Prix and he addressed that and he mentioned that as well. It's just amazing. Like, I think that is the way the sport should go with the drivers. And I know that there are more introverted ones that maybe don't really want to say much, but still, it means so much to fans, and it's the fans that make the sport. So, I absolutely agree with you guys on that as well. So, we're getting to the end, sadly, of this session, but we're definitely going to have you guys both on again, some more members of the 44 in the future. What I wanted to do, guys, I wanted to ask you your top 3 favorite Sir Lewis Hamilton moments. And the caveat, where I'm going to be a bit evil here, you guys can't pick the same thing. So if somebody says one thing like Brazil 2021, the other can't use that. So yeah, I'm going to let you guys have a cat fight. I'm just going to bail out whilst I let you guys sell this.
The,
Top
the,
3
the
moments.
best Lewis moment.
Top 3.
Top
You got to give
three?
us 3.
Okay. Okay, Ari, you go first.
For me, the one that strikes out the most is when he won his 7th world championship. That's a top moment. Like, it just shows how humble he is and how thankful he is and how much that meant to him. And I think it means a lot to people, that do support him, and kind of shows that someone who has worked so hard, has had to deal with a lot, can get to that level of success. So I'm going to choose that as one of my top 3.
Nice. And I think again, I want to go on a long elegy about that, but I think it's spot on there, Ari, just about how meaningful that moment was, because I think it was Turkey 2020 where he crossed the line. He'd done that impeccable drive on the slinters. It wasn't even intermediate tires. It was intermediates that had no grooves in it. They were basically slick tires, and he won the championship. And just the first thing he said wasn't oh, I'm the world champion. Oh yeah, I've equaled Michael. The first thing the guy said was, "This is for all the kids out there. You can do it too." I was like, wow, he just won another championship, and the first thing he's thinking about is all the people that could potentially be watching. This could be their first ever encounter with Formula One, and he had the mental fortitude to keep those people in mind as well. So yeah, very powerful moment, Ari. I agree with you on that one. So Sarah, what's your next one?
Oh, I have so many. I don't even know where to start. Ah, well, I'm gonna pick my 3 favorite moments in one of my favorite year from Lewis, 2018.
Nice.
I remember in 2018 we were a bit down. Ferrari had the upper hand, and Lewis hadn't won a race on pace in like quite a while. I think he even won Baku because like Sebastian missed the breaking point and went like the same thing that basically happened to him last year. And that's how he won Baku. So we were like on the back foot and uh, I like it wasn't really like it was Ferrari's year to lose actually, and we were like trailing. And coming to Germany 2018, uh, Lewis had an hydraulic failure in qualifying, and he got kicked out in Q1. And when his car stopped, he jumped out and started pushing it, and we were so desperate at that time. Like we were like, oh my God, we really lost this championship. Oh no, we really lost it. And then it started from P14, and wow, what a race. He won from P14. Like it was pretty much like Brazil. He won from P14. Like the tire management was insane. Insane. He did 43 laps on like medium tires. And when everyone else was pitting, he was like still massaging his tire and wait for the rain to come, switch to super soft. Well, and at the end of the race, he started pouring. And he said, for those who don't know me now, they do. And it was so powerful because you know how people like to slander Lewis when he's down, like what they said, what they said about him, like in qualifying. Oh, he lost his mojo. Maybe he doesn't know how to drive, etc., etc. And then to come back from P14, it was such a powerful message, and it was really embodying the never give up. Because winning from P14, that's the ultimate proof of his incredible resilience. So that's one of my top moments from US.
Oh, that was an amazing one as well, there, Sarah. And literally, you almost gave me a flashback there because I remember that too. He was pushing in qualifying. He had the hydraulic failure. He's pushing this like 1,000 like ton or kilo car. I'm like, oh my god, he's not giving up. He still believes he's in this. He's fighting, yes. And then even on race day, that was such a tricky race because I think it started like dry. Then the rain came, but Lewis kept composed throughout the entire race. And it's his driving, it's his commitment, it's his consistency and skill that put Sebastian under pressure when he eventually did make the mistake, when he went off into the gravel trap, I think in the final sector. And then, even then, the race hadn't been won because the team were telling him, come in, like the infamous Bono, in. And Lewis is just like, nah, I'm trusting my own instincts. I'm going to do what I feel I should do. Like it takes incredible precision, judgment, experience, bravery, courage, just everything you can think of to get it right, and it's just a testament to the man. Like he is gold. And what I always say about the 44 as well is I'm glad that we're documenting all this stuff because hopefully when I have kids in the future, they can look through the archives, they can look through a reputable source, a community like the 44, and they can see these landmark moments of this geniusness or like brilliance or it's excellence. This is so much to take away, and like this been some amazing moments. And unless Ari was gonna add in another two, because I did say three, but I know this is so many. Yeah, he's just amazing. But Ari, were there any more that you could think of?
Yeah, I mean, Syria 2020. No, not 2020. Sorry, I think it is 2020 actually.
It's 2020, the qualifying. Oh, Ari, I hate you.
Qualifying.
Ari, I hate you.
Like, come on. I mean, Lewis can do a recovery drive. We know that very well. But look at him in his zone. Look at what he masters. He's the rain master. And in qualifying, a lot of people were struggling, yet he just seemed to dominate. And he dominated so ahead of Verstappen and all the other drivers in the grid. So I think that's a very iconic moment for me. Something that I always rewatch, just if I have like a sad day or something, I just need something to hype me up. I'm like, yep, it's either Brazil 2021 or Styria.
Again, both great, exceptional races, Ari. Honestly, like that wet performance as well. Like people, there are loads of drivers which are quite good in the rain, but Lewis, oof, oof, that guy, he could sell water to a well. He could sell like an igloo to an iceman. He could sell ice cream to a kid. Like that guy is so smooth with it. Like Jesus, he's sensational with it. And I agree. Just like it's moments like that where you sit there and you're like, you shouldn't have done that. That shouldn't have even been possible. Like, why was he there? Why was he there? And like, he just does it. Exactly. You could never like write him off. And there's just some magic with the guy. There really is. But it's not just the fact that he's born with this talent. He nurtures and improves this talent year in, year out, day in, day out, because he wants to improve. He wants to do better. He wants to learn. And you even see this very organic relationship as well with him and George this year and them working, like in a more adverse situation where the car maybe shouldn't be where it is, but they're trying to, work through difficult and rough times. And I'm very positive that it's going to be fruitful for both of them. So I absolutely agree with everything you guys have said. And this episode, I just love it. It's just one of those ones. So I'm just like, I'm glad I was here in this day and time of history to just reflect on some of these moments with both of you, because it's an absolute pleasure. And like, to kind of conclude it then, guys, actually, one other thing we haven't told the listeners at home yet is certain AMG Den, certain normal kid from North London, certain chocolate Superman has formally been added to the contributors of the 44. So guys listening at home, yeah, hey, I hope you guys are clapping for me and all that. I need that energy. And just thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Ari. Thank you to all the members of like the 44
No, thank
Club.
you.
Thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's a pleasure, guys. And like I was actually like telling Ari like backstage as well. I was like, it feels like I've always been a part of the 44, to be honest. I've always felt like included and part of the movement and part of the campaign. And I just love, j'adore. Like, I'm not even French, but I have to say j'adore. I love.
Your French is perfect.
Thank you. I just love the work that you guys do. Please keep it up. And I know that there are a couple of big projects coming out soon, so I'm not going to spoil those, but I will give you guys the floor, like, to just say, like, could you please give the listeners at home, maybe who aren't aware, or maybe they live under the rock, but know Dwayne Johnson, of course, just like where they can find both of you individually, and also how they can engage with the 44, and just please shout out your handles for everyone at home as well.
Sure. So you can find us mainly on Twitter. So our handle is _the44. You can also read all our content that Sarah is editor of, also writes herself, is the-44.org. And we're also on Instagram, and our handle is _the40, all in letters, and then the number 4. So you can find us on those handles. If you want to find me personally on Twitter, my handle is Lewis Hamstring, pun intended. And yeah, like lots of exciting things coming up to really show Lewis support. I think he needs it now more than ever this year. So yeah, follow us on socials and yeah, stay tuned.
Hey, and Sarah, where can they find you individually? And another question I actually want both of you guys to answer. Like, is there anything that you can reveal that you're looking forward to in the imminent future as well?
Is
Sarah,
that for
you go
me or
first.
Ari? No, I let Ari.
Well, before Sarah intros her handles and whatnot, I think one thing to really look forward to is a campaign that we're about to launch. I won't mention the name, but it's really, I can truly say that it's about, why the fans love Lewis and trying to amplify, all those different voices and all those reasons why we love Lewis and just letting him know that. And whether that's, through social media or through on track support, that's what this upcoming campaign is really, that's the core vision of this upcoming campaign. And it's really to just bring a load of more positive content back into this space. So that's what I can reveal. And I hope everyone looks forward to it and can support the campaign.
Perfect. And Sarah, come on, you gotta tell us.
About what?
Come on, where can they follow you? Where can we want the guys to follow you?
I'm like on my under. I'm Sydney Lansam. There is no pun, unfortunately. Ari takes the cake. She's the best. And yeah, I mean, I am on the 44. Like we have that hello, the 44. We can be like reached out. My DMs are open. Well, let's build up that community around Lewis and around all those positive value he's trying to convey, and we are also trying to convey. So,
Perfect, Sarah. Thank you so much for that too. Because guys, everyone listening at home as well, I need you. I'm on my knees. Pause. I'm on my knees, just for you guys to just go and support these guys. Like, if there's anything you do on this weekend, sleep, not sleep, party, not party, drink, don't drink, go to church, don't go to church, whatever you're doing, I need you guys to go and subscribe, go and follow, the 44 on Twitter, on Instagram, and go and follow the founding mothers, or should I say the fairy godmothers of it all, Sarah and Ari as well. But guys, thanks a million for being part of this show today. Honestly, like I want to do this more often with you guys too, and I can't wait as well for me to make appearances and obviously contributions on the 44 platform as well. So guys, it's another reason why you guys should subscribe, man. I'm gonna be there. So, and Georgina's there too as well. Georgina's written a couple of great, insightful pieces, as part of the community as well that are online. So please make sure you guys go and follow them. But guys, any final words before we say goodbye?
Just thank you both for having us. And yeah, just if we appreciate the support for the 44, and we hope that through your support we can, all the more show the support for Lewis.
Hey, we love to hear it. And Sarah, any final words from you?
No, Ari said it all.
Oh, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, just thank you for having us, and it's been such a pleasure to be there with you guys. And well,
Oh, anytime. And listen, we're gonna do this very often because this, again, I'm not being biased or anything, but you guys are my favorites. So yeah, I'm so happy that you guys joined us. I'm so appreciative and thankful for your time. And we're gonna science has had another stinker. He's crashed. But anyway, when the listeners listen to this, they'll probably figure out what I'm referring to in P2.
how are we looking?
They'll know.
Good.
But of course, guys, thanks a million. And for all the listeners out there as well, we hope that you have a great weekend. Be safe, be successful, be prosperous, be healthy. And as always, until next time, peace. Catch you guys soon.